All right, so China's most productive provinces and cities, as per 2021 GDP statistics. So this is from the site China Briefing, and we'll cover pretty much the whole article, and there's some interesting stuff. I'm mainly interested in the cities actually, and please forgive me if I get my pronunciations wrong, as usual. I am planning on learning uh, Mandarin in the future, so stay tuned for that. That should be pretty interesting as well. All right, let's begin. So China's GDP in 2021 reached 17.7 trillion US dollars, or depending on which source you use, it's above 18 trillion, or even close to 19 trillion, showing an increase of about 3 trillion compared to 2020, or 8.1% growth year on year, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. So now, some folks might be thinking, oh, this is just a natural rebound. All economies pretty much have um, all economies pretty much have this kind of rebound, and that's kind of partially true, but it's incomplete. It's not the complete story. So I talked about this in my previous in a lot of red posts of mine, not posts but comments actually. But I talked about how China can have much higher growth rates, and it chooses not to do so because at the moment, what's used to fuel the economy, fossil fuels, right? So at the moment, that is still a bit cheaper than renewables, and to achieve a kind of fast, so they do set goals. So provinces are given goals. So if they set their goal, say it's 20% for next year or something, provinces will try to achieve that goal, no matter what the cost. So regardless of how much pollution they produce, so provinces will those numbers, and that's how the meritocratic political system within China works. That's how leaders within the party gain higher ranks and stuff. They're elected based on that within the party, of course. So that's the reason that China has recently focused on high quality growth. It's not because they can't achieve higher growth; they easily can. It's because they want to focus on uh, more sustainable development path. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that China has forgone high growth forever. It will. I feel like it will definitely pursue much faster growth, as well as sustainable development in harmony with nature. Uh, in the future, when renewables are the go-to instead of fossil fuels. So we'll see if I'm proven right or wrong regarding that, but we'll see. So basically, China can achieve far higher growth rates, but it has other priorities right now. Growth isn't the priority. As for 8.1% being a rebound, well, we should see that kind of growth in most other economies, which don't. So authorities have also unveiled data tracking the economic performance of 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities directly under the central government for 2021. With global headwinds and COVID-linked uncertainties dampening China's economic growth outlook in 2022, it is easy to feel pessimistic. That's why we take a closer look at the growth rates of prominent provinces and major cities in China. So Guangdong GDP ranked first for the 33rd consecutive year. So Guangdong is by far the biggest economy in China. It's also home to two of the biggest economic centers in China, which is Shenzhen and Guangzhou, followed by Hong Kong. In 2021, the economic output of many provinces reached a new high. Among others, Guangdong's GDP exceeded RMB 12 trillion. So RMB reaching an all-time high of RMB 12.44 trillion. So that's in US dollar terms, that's almost $2 trillion. And registering 8% growth year on year. This ensures that Guangdong ranked first in the country for the 33rd consecutive year. To compare, based on 2020 statistics, their GDP was higher than Italy, Canada, and South Korea. So this is in nominal GDP, or otherwise known as exchange value, or ERV. Meanwhile, Jiangsu's GDP exceeded RMB 11 trillion for the first time. So that's approximately 1.8 trillion in US dollar terms. So that's an increase of 210 billion in US dollar terms from 2020. Shandong's GDP reached a new high, ranking third in China with RMB 8.31 trillion, so 0.29 trillion in US dollar terms, and this one's gonna be Zhejiang exceeded 7 trillion RMB, so just a bit over 1 trillion US dollars, ranking fourth in China. And Henan's GDP approached RMB 6 trillion, so 930 billion, so almost a trillion there, ranking fifth in the country. So you also have Shanghai, Anhui, Hebei, and Beijing. There, Shanghai and Beijing being provinces as well. They exceeded 4 trillion RMB, and so basically 620 billion dollar terms. So Shaanxi and or is it pronounced Shanxi, and Inner Mongolia both exceeded 2 trillion RMB. So basically 310 billion US dollars, and Gansu exceeded RMB 1 trillion, so 160 billion in US dollar terms. So about 27 provinces in China surpassed the 1 trillion RMB, so about 160 billion dollar terms. So I was looking at the provincial growth rates. So Hubei's GDP grew the fastest, while Hainan's 2-year average GDP growth rate first. So 2 year being the average between the 2 years. And Hubei's GDP grew the fastest from 2020 to 2021. So Hubei is 12.9% growth for 2021. Very impressive. Hainan and Shanxi ranked second and third respectively, so with the 11.2% and 9.1% respectively. So this is for all the 2-year average growth rates compared. So Hainan, Shanxi, Guizhou, registering an average growth rate of 7.3%, 6.3%, and 6.3%. Hainan thus has the lead in regional growth, economic growth in the past 2 years. So this is part of China's ongoing efforts to develop Hainan Island into a globally influential free trade port. So I predict that in the next few years, Hainan may usher in the fastest development stage in history. So similar to Shenzhen, but not quite the scale. In addition, the GDP growth of the following regions beat the GDP growth rate of 8.1%. So, Jiangxi 8.8%, Jiangsu 8.6%, Beijing 8.5%, Zhejiang 8.5%, and I'll have that up on the screen there. So both Shanghai and Guizhou's GDP increased by 8.1%, in line with the national level. So South China provinces record better economic performance than their northern neighbors. By region, among the top 10 provinces by GDP, only Shandong and Henan were northern provinces, while the remaining 8 provinces were all located in South China. Hebei, Beijing, and Shanxi ranked 3rd to 5th among the northern regions and ranked 12th to 14th in the country, respectively. The 3 northeastern provinces dropped out of the top 5, such as Liaoning, which ranked 17th nationwide. Fastest growing of the northern provinces was Shanxi, which saw its economy soar in 2021 due to rising energy-related prices. Among the 6 central provinces, Henan, located in central China, tops the list, followed by Hubei, Yunnan, Anhui, and Jiangxi and Shanxi, with an economic output of nearly RMB 6 trillion, so about 930 billion, US dollars. Henan is firmly at the top of the list of 6 central provinces, while Hubei, the fastest growing province, registered more than 800 billion RMB. So about 124 billion US dollars. Coming behind Henan, Shanxi ranked 1st in the central region in terms of economic growth rate, but its economic output just exceeded RMB 2 trillion, or 310 billion dollar terms in 2021, which means it will take longer for Shanxi to catch up with Jiangxi. So you got the list here, quite the extensive list. So I have top 15, I guess, in there. The top 10 rounded off by Shanghai. And yeah, the Guangdong is pretty massive, but Jiangsu is pretty close actually, and having faster growth rates. Per capita GDP of 17 provinces exceeded $10,000. So just a list of that. Up on the screen. In US dollar terms, the per capita GDP of 17 provinces exceeded 10,000, among which Beijing, Shanghai, and Jiangsu per capita GDP surpassed 1,000, while Anhui, Hunan, Jiangxi, Liaoning, and Shanxi's per capita reached 10,000 for the first time. So you have, this is in RMB, of course, it's a table. It'll be on the screen there. GDP breakdown of China's provinces by industry type, in terms of the primary industry, basically manufacturing and stuff like that. Shandong ranked 1st in the country with an added value of RMB 602.9 billion, or dollar terms, 3.5 billion. So this is basically how much industry, manufacturing stuff, in 2021. Continuing to consolidate Shandong's position as a strong agriculture province, Sichuan and Henan rounded up the top 3 agriculture provinces in the country. The added value of Guangdong's primary industry exceeded 500 billion RMB, or 77.5 billion US dollars, for the first time rising to 4th place in China. The added value of the primary industry in Hebei and Guizhou, 500 billion RMB, or 77.5 billion US dollars, for the first time rising to 4th place in China. By added value of the primary industry in Hebei and Guizhou, 500 billion RMB, or 77.5 billion US dollars, for the first time rising to 4th place in China. Guangxi province surpassed 400 billion RMB or 62 billion in US dollar terms for the first time. So you got the table of that there on the screen as well. So in terms of the added value of the secondary industry, both Jiangsu and Guangdong reached a new level of 5 trillion RMB, 780 billion US dollar terms. Jiangsu ranked first in the country with the added value of the secondary industry at 800 billion in dollars, followed by Guangdong with added value worth about 780 billion in US dollar terms. Further consolidating the status of Jiangsu and Guangdong as two strong manufacturing provinces. And you have the table of this for secondary industry, or otherwise known as manufacturing. Here. So the territory industry, this is like education and stuff, I believe. Yeah. Added value of Guangdong's territory industry is the most outstanding, having reached 1 trillion in US dollar terms in 2021 and continuing to lead the country. After that, Jiangsu's ranked second with its territory industry adding almost 1 trillion basically. And we have the table here. It's basically services. So Guangdong province leads by far in terms of services and manufacturing. So now we come to the cities here. In 2021, China's city GDP, the Trillion Club, expanded again as 24 cities ended up with a GDP over RMB 1 trillion, approximately 160 billion in US dollar terms. So Shanghai and Beijing both exceed 620 billion. The rapid recovery of Shanghai's economic growth owes much to strategic emerging industries, especially new energy vehicles, and Beijing's rapid growth is partly due to the fast growth of its industries above the designated size. On the other hand, Beijing has begun to deploy advantageous production capacity after relocating the non-capital functions to neighboring provinces. Guangdong's GDP reached 170 billion in 2021, becoming the 24th member of the Trillion Club cities. So that's RMB of 1.09 trillion. So this is, according to analysts, mostly due to the rapid growth of China's foreign trade in 2021. So 18 of them were located in South China, while 6 of them, so this is for the 24 trillion club cities that exceed 1 trillion RMB, 18 of them in South China and 6 in North China. So in Guangdong province, there was 4 RMB trillion, over RMB a trillion. So Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Foshan, and Dongguan. Thus, Guangdong has caught up with Jiangsu in the number of trillion club cities. So Jiangsu has Suzhou, Nanjing, Wuxi, and Nantong. So there's a list of the graph of that. Looking ahead, China's economic performance lived to expectations in 2021. On the other hand, there were unmistakable signs that the country is facing mounting downward pressures. These include a property downturn, shrinking demand, and diminished support from exports. So the so-called diminished support from exports we can actually address right now is basically exports becoming a smaller share of the economy. So it's just how a massive consumption-driven economy works. So I'm not sure why they think that is a bad thing, but whatever. And yeah. Yeah, and China's economic outlook for 2022 would depend on exports performance. So they think that exports are what drives China's economy. The pace of recovery of the property industry and whether domestic consumption can rebound. Given this, the growth targets of China's provincial governments have become more realistic. While Hainan has set an ambitious GDP target at around 9% for 2022, Yue, Jiangxi, Anhui, Ningxia, and Hainan have all set growth targets of around 7%. Most other provinces have already set their growth target at between 5% and 6.5%. Though GDP numbers only tell part of the story of a region's economic situation, it is an important indicator for managing growth expectations and predicting local economic policies. Enterprises doing a business in China should keep a close eye on the economic development patterns of specific provinces and cities. So yeah, that's basically a look at China's economic record for 2021. And I'll see you guys next time.